You know, if it wasn't for the unsettling mysteries, the feeling that somebody is always watching you, and the mold, I'd want to live in the welcome home neighborhood. Hey, it's Ali. Welcome or welcome back, neighbor. So the welcome home update number 2 is finally out. I'm a couple weeks late because I was moving, but we're here now, and that's all that matters. And oh my gosh, what an update this has been. I have so much to say. This update was chock full of a whole bunch of things. Character development, lore updates, you name it. One of the main things that I think is like the most important out of all of this, I watched Nightmind's video on this, and in that video, Nightmind said that like you need to have a good amount of fat and lean for a project, any type of project. And I think this is writing the best amount of fat and lean. Like, we got so much about the characters, and then right at the end, when you're done learning about all of the characters, you get that like lean about the project and like where it's going and theories and lore and all that type of stuff. But today I specifically wanted to talk about the characters because, especially given the whole fandom going crazy as it did during the first update, I think now that we have a more like solidified background for these characters, we can see how much they're going to play like a role within the like upcoming story, and I want to talk about it here today. So if at any time you like this video, please give a like and subscribe because I make videos like this all the time, and let me know down below your favorite character, especially after this update, and also your theories, because I'm going to get a little bit into my theories today about where all of this is going. Let's jump into it. So we're gonna go around the neighborhood counterclockwise, starting from Howdy Pillar. Now, I think, myself included, a lot of people thought Howdy was gonna be like kind of like Eddie, in the sense that he's like very sweet, very kind, you know, maybe a little bit like frantic and a little bit anxiety, like have anxiety the same way like Eddie does, which like I don't know if anybody else, I'm sure there are like a lot of people out there who thought differently, but for me personally, I really thought like Howdy Pillar was going to be like kind of like fretting and like like my shop, and like really like anxiety. It's just literally almost a carbon copy of Eddie, which like looking back on it, like obviously they should have separate personalities, but in canon in canon, turns out he's a grind set alpha male. I'm joking, but he is on that grind set. He said, get your money up, not your funny up, son.
So my brother Charlie tells my sister Dolly that our brother Barley's cousin Henry is turning over a new leaf. But if you ask me, Bon, a caterpillar's always turning over leaves. We just call it a salad.
So you don't believe the poor guy? Sounds like you're just giving him the short end of the stick.
Short end of the... We've given that clown the whole branch.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Howdy Pillar in his accent, his transatlantic accent, saying, get your money up, not your funny up, son? Oh my god. I would pay top dollar to hear the voice actor said that. Speaking of, during this update, we got voice acting. Voice acting being like the biggest like part of this update, aside from like all of the other like merchandise and like real life stuff, which we'll get to when we talk about like Wally and stuff. So we got to hear these characters speak for the first time, and oh my god, the voice actors did such a good job. They did such an amazing job. Like oh, especially Howdy Pillar. Howdy Pillar's voice, every time he spoke, I was laughing. I was laughing at something. I think Clown does a really good job about making this world really believable, and I'll get into this more when I talk about my theories and of course Wally and stuff, but this idea of like what these characters are like even when the cameras aren't rolling, and then also, are they aware that there are cameras, but like, we'll get to that when I get to Sally in a second. But hearing these characters speak and have like personalities, it was amazing. It was really good. But nice to know that like Howdy went from like, oh, sweet kind man, to
it feels like somebody wants to sell me something.
I told you he was on to us.
now I want to move on to Eddie because I want to make a connection between these two characters, between Eddie and Howdy. So let's move on to Eddie. So for Eddie, we were right on. We were spot on. The fandom was spot on about Eddie. He is a nervous little anxiety-inducing mess who is very sweet Southern boy. Oh my god, his accent. His accent got me, y'all. It got me.
Hey, I'm a coming. Just be a sec, I'll be right there. Oh, good, not alive. Oh, I really ought to look where my feet are going, huh? Oh, hold on, buddy. These are yours. I'd forgotten I'd had them to give them out to you.
I remember a bunch of videos back before I covered the first video of Welcome Home that I made. Somebody in the comments of a different video asked me if I was into Welcome Home, and if not, that I should get into it because it seemed up my alley. And one of the characters that I would like would be Eddie. And I had never felt more clocked in my life because at that point I was already into Welcome Home. I just hadn't made my video yet. I had never felt more clocked in my life, y'all. Like, how did you know? Am I that obvious to read? And then the voice acting came out for Eddie. Oh my god. Every single time I heard Eddie's voice, I was kicking my feet and twirling my hair. I was kicking my feet and twirling my hair. Like, I love Eddie so much. He is so adorable. He's such a gentleman. Oh my gosh. But speaking of, the thing that I wanted to connect between Eddie and Howdy is this idea of things coming outside of the neighborhood into this neighborhood. So like, where did that come from? There is a video between Wally and Eddie where Eddie is delivering a package or delivering letters or something to Wally, and Barnaby comes by and like tries to tackle the mailman. The whole joke is about Barnaby being a dog and Eddie being a mailman, you know. So in that, Barnaby asks about his kazoos. He's like, my kazoo shipment is supposed to come in. And later on in the next video, or the final video within that whole day, also, if you don't know, it's very heavily implied that all of the videos, all of the secret videos that you find take place throughout like one day, because Barnaby is telling Home about like everything that happened throughout the day, and it's literally every single video that has happened. Also, all the videos are through Wally's perspective, which is like, we'll get to that when I talk about Wally. Don't worry. Do not worry. But Barnaby mentions that he was waiting on kazoos and they hadn't even come. And the question then becomes, will they ever come? One of the biggest questions that I think a lot of people have is like, is this world real, or is it within the, like, is it like, oh, real world and then puppet world, and it's like the puppets don't know about the real world, or the puppets do know about the real world but the humans don't know about the puppets, or like something along those lines. I think My Friendly Neighbor, which is a game that just came out, which is a great game, y'all should play it, watch somebody play it, support it, something, really opened up a lot of people's minds to the idea that this world just exists within the human world. Like the puppet world and puppets being alive and stuff like that is just a thing that happens within this real world. And I think because of that, we can look at it differently, because I know a lot of people were trying to do the whole possession route, which I think is still a thing. I definitely think it's still a thing. In terms of the other puppets and the neighborhood, I think that this might be a case of where this world just exists, or maybe even like, you know, Barbie Land in the Barbie movie, where it's like Barbie Land and then the real world, but these two coincide and people know that what each other exists. It might be the same here. And I think that is backed up actually by Wally. So jumping ahead a bit to Wally, I'm not going to get too deep into Wally right now, but jumping ahead a bit to Wally, he with the entire idea that he can see us, the audience members, it's like, does he know that we as an audience member exist, you know, kind of breaking that fourth wall? Do other puppets know that, you know, the real world exists and that they live in a puppet world, or do they think they just live in a normal world and don't know they're on a TV show or anything like that? Again, I'll get more into this when I talk about Wally, I promise. I say that just because both Eddie and Howdy have shipments that come from like outside of the neighborhood, clearly. Unless you could say that Howdy is making everything that he sells, which would be very interesting, because wouldn't he be also somebody who'd be getting shipments from outside of the neighborhood being shipped in? And it's like, where do those shipments come from? Unless he's not getting shipments from outside of the neighborhood, in which that is something. That is something. Anyway, I spent way too long talking about them. Let's keep going. So next we have Poppy, who I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't expect much out of Poppy as a character at first. And I think this is how fandom can rot your brain, because I genuinely think it's because I hadn't seen a lot of Poppy in fan art and fan comics and this, that, the third, that I think there just wasn't enough to go off of in the beginning. But now we have so much more about her, and through this update and Clown talking about Poppy and her sexuality and her gender and stuff like that, I feel like we've gotten so much more about her as a character. And then obviously hearing her speak,
I'm just working on some scarves and sweaters and such. I want everyone in the neighborhood to have something warm to wear when, you know, winter comes along. Feels like these changing seasons keep sneaking up on me.
I hear that.
So I don't really have any like fandom thing for her. Like, I don't know how she was perceived in the fandom personally, because she was shoved to the side a lot. I hope that now that she has more of a personality, she's more of a character that is out there like the rest of everybody else, that she's inputted more into like fan comics and stuff, because I feel like she deserves it. She's a great character. I love her character a lot. Also, something that I noticed about her character is that Wally is always in every single video seen with Barnaby, or Barnaby is somewhere along the lines. Like, the only videos where Barnaby isn't in the video with Wally is when Eddie, Julie, and Wally are playing Office, but Barnaby ends up calling on the phone asking specifically to talk to Wally, which is like, why did he want to talk to Wally? And the only other video that I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, that Barnaby isn't in, like, physically, is when Wally is at Poppy's house and Poppy is making a cake for Sally, and they're talking about that. That is like the only time Barnaby like doesn't show up. Oh, and the video where Poppy and Frank are talking, Wally is also there, but Barnaby is not there. So it's like whenever Barnaby isn't there, Poppy is there, and I don't know if that has anything to do with anything at all. Like, that could just be me pulling something out of nothing. But I find that really interesting, and that made me pay attention a lot more to Poppy as a character. I don't know, like, hearing her speak, I don't know if just her voice actor doing an amazing job voice acting, but I was like really leaning on like everything that Poppy was saying. So let me know if there's anything there, you think there's anything there, or if I'm just blowing smoke up my own ass. Who knows? But yeah, I love her as a character. She's definitely giving grandma vibes. She's giving auntie grandma mom vibes. She is, which could be another reason why Wally likes to like stay with her a lot. She just gives that like comforting vibe, you know, where he can just sit there and chill and help. I'm getting ahead of myself. I have so much to say about Wally, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's move on to the next character. So the next character we have is Sally, and I think the fandom for the most part thought Sally was going to be a little gremlin, and for the most part Sally is a little gremlin, even though I think canonically Sally is like really big, like really, really big. I have to like go back and check, but I think like canonically in terms of like height and how big the puppet is, I think her and like Poppy are along the like same size ish, I think. Either way, I think Sally is like a really big puppet because of the way that she's like created. So even though she has little gremlin vibes, despite the fact that she is nowhere near a little gremlin, she is the character who is the only character so far to mention an audience, which like obviously she is a thespian, so we could obviously write it off as like, oh, she's a thespian, she loves plays. So when Sally talks about an audience, she obviously can just be referring to the fact that when you put on a play, there is an audience that is watching you, and not necessarily the audience like us, the audience. Now, in that video that she's talking about it's when she's talking to Poppy about the cake.
I didn't think that far.
You didn't think about the flavor.
Well, the audience can't taste it from their seats, now can they? Oh, what do you think?
So you could take it that way as well, or you could take it as in the sense of like, does she know that us being the audience are going to see her? Because she's saying that the cake, it doesn't matter what flavor the cake is because like the audience won't be able to taste it or like whatever. And that sounds like something you would see through a screen, obviously. Whether or not it's on stage or through a screen, you wouldn't be able to taste the cake. So again, she could just be talking about how in actuality, someone who's putting on a play, there's going to be an audience. Or she could be talking about knowing that they are a show and we are an audience that is watching them. It's just something to think about, something really interesting to think about. Next character is Julie. Girl boss, girl slay. That's who she is. Girl boss slay. I love her so much. I love her character so much. She is so adorable. She has the most bomb outfits. Let me tell you. All of her outfits are bomb.com. I love that girl so much. And the most that I learned from her is that she has a very boisterous personality, almost to a fault, almost to like a stereotypicalness of having that type of personality. And it made me wonder because everybody else has a pretty like solid personality, and again jumping a little bit ahead to Wally versus Wally, who has a very like monotone laugh. He has a very monotone personality comparatively to everybody else. He is like intrinsically different than literally everybody else, and obviously that's by design. And I'll get into like my theories of why again when I talk about Wally, sorry. But as it compares to Julie, because Julie being the biggest personality out of everybody else. Okay.
Which is why the pie charts must be green berry. Greenberry. You know, Julie.
President Joyful.
Right. President Joyful. I don't think Breenberry's a real berry. I mean, shoot, what color even is Breen?
That's classified, Mr. Deer. That's why they pay me the big shamoolas.
It kind of makes me wonder if these characters know that they're characters, or again, like this entire question of like, do the characters know that they're characters, or are they real? And if they are real and they know that they're real, how does that work within the realm of the show being produced? Because it was a show that went on for like 4 years, according to the Welcome Home Restoration Project, who I think is just one person. It's about like more about the production of the show. I think that's going to be our biggest like piece of lore that I think we're gonna get, is because that is the whole like mystery here, is like, is the show even real? Like, why has no one heard of the show if it was on for at least 4 years? Like, this is lost media. How come the show was so popular and there was a whole interview that was on, and so like the show was very popular, but like no one seems to know about it. It was scrubbed from the entire society's subconscious or like whatever, and no one remembers that this thing exists, which of course then begs the question of like, where did all this merchandise come? Where did all this, like, I feel like when we learn more about the production, we're gonna learn more about like how this world works, who's puppeteering who. Do the puppets know that they're being puppeteered? Do only certain puppets know that they're being puppeteered? You know, things like that. I feel like once we get any type of hint about the production of the show. Clown has also talked about how there is lots of LGBT themes in this, as well as ableism being like two really big themes throughout this. Now, a lot of people have talked about this, but this show coming out in 1969, which is the year that the Stonewall riots happened in America, and also this being a very big turning point in America for homophobia and transphobia and things like that. So this show that has canonically queer characters and queer relationships is something that, you know, we talk about, like, is that going to be a part of the production? Is that just who these characters are? Is it going to be a part of the production? Because one of the things that the interviewer asks in the interview with Wally and Barnaby, the interviewer asked Wally if there's any like romantic thing, and I feel like that is something that is going to come up again, if like Wally has any romantic interests or anything like that. I know there's a lot of speculation about Wally's sexuality specifically. A lot of people headcanon him as ace. A lot of people headcanon him as just straight up gay. We don't know yet. Right now it's leaning towards ace, because he seemed to have no interest in that question like whatsoever. So I'm more inclined to lean towards that. I don't care either way, like what the actual canonical sexuality might be, but like if we're going based off of like what we have seen so far, it would be leaning more towards ace. But again, that doesn't really matter right now. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that is just something to think about as we think about the characters and the production and this world. So the next character we need to talk about is Frank. I think we almost got it right as a fandom with Frank. I think we gave him the grumpy pass, but I think sometimes we were leaning a little bit too heavy into the grumpy territory. Like I think a lot of us were reminded of Mr. Robinson from Amazing World of Gumball, and he's just grumpy, nothing makes him happy. I feel like in this one he is just more straight-laced, less grumpy, and more of just, you know, just so, as his little song implies. He's just like a person who likes things, you know, to be a certain way, and he has rules and all this type of stuff, but he is not like a grumpy person per se. He is a very straight, serious person, but I wouldn't say grumpy. So we got the serious part right, but I don't think like the whole grumpiness is, I don't think so, because again, the voice actor did such an amazing job with Frank. Oh my god. And showing that he does have emotion.
A wonderful job. Maybe you should consider hiring it.
Real cute. I'm being serious here.
Oh, there's nothing to be so scared of. It's more frightened of you than you are of it, you know.
Scared? Of a friendly guy like me? I wouldn't even hurt a fly.
I don't think you could even look at a fly with how you're hiding from this beetle.
Hey, don't go knocking a fella down when he's in a fit of desperation.
And I'm glad we got to see that, and before like we just went gung-ho with the whole, oh, he has no emotion, he's just grumpy all the time, grumpy man, grumpy. Like, no, he has emotions, he cares for things, he cares for people, but he just, you know, he likes things a certain way, and he's very serious about that thing, okay? And the fact that his best friend is like Julie, I love their relationship so much. Their friendship means the world to me. I don't know how else to explain it. Their friendship means the world to me, okay? All right, moving on to the next character. We have Barnaby. Barnaby's sus. He is so sus. I think the fandom thought he was Sans. Canon, he's Sans. I don't know what to tell you. The puns, the like showing up at weird random times coincidentally.
I suppose I don't got much more running left to do today, though. Unless you got something for me to carry for you. Is there any leaded package or parcel you need me to run for your... Wait, what are you looking around me for?
Mailman! You got any packages for little old me? My kazoo collection should have been in my mailbox today. Where is it?
Now, Barnaby, you know better. I have to put it in your mailbox. It's policy.
You know a dog like me doesn't do policy, pal. The only policy I follow is the creed all dogs follow. Chase in your local mailman.
He just always knows when to show up, especially when characters are talking to Wally. Like when Eddie was talking to Wally alone, I know like the whole thing was played off as Barnaby trying to catch up to Eddie to get his packages. But he just randomly shows up out of nowhere. It's a little sus. I'm not gonna lie to you. Barnaby is a little sus here. I don't think he has clean paws. That's what I'm gonna say. He is like, I think, my favorite character so far, though, as you can tell. I love him a lot. He's very sus. I'm pulling out this theory out of the crack of my asshole. But I think that he is Wally's service dog. So random, and it maybe just has to do with the ableism thing. I don't know. But I think that he is Wally's service dog. And this is based off of just pure vibes. That is my crack theory. All the other theories I have are based off of like something. But this theory is just based off of pure vibes. Pure vibes. I love Barnaby a lot. He is a very sus character though. I feel like he's also able to talk to Home. I'm not sure if everybody else can talk to Home. So far, it's just Wally and Barnaby that seem to be able to be the ones to talk to Home. With all the other characters, they seem to know that Home is alive at least, because Wally invites Home to like play games with them, and they're like, yeah, sure. Of course he could come. I don't know though if they know that they could talk to Home the same way that Barnaby and Wally can. All right, last but not least, we can finally talk about Wally. Let's just get this over with. The fandom depictions of Wally were all over the place. I don't know if this is just me in my seasoned veteran brain, but having seen like Undertale go through 100 million different AUs, and then I'm just like, I think I've seen this film before. I've seen this film before, and the ending was peculiar. Basically, Welcome Home has also a lot of AUs. I don't know where all these AUs are coming from. I don't know if it's just because we have a lot of characters and not a whole lot of plot just yet. I don't know. Maybe that's just a testament to how good the characters are, that a lot of people want to take them and do their own spin on them. It's fine, but I think Wally specifically, and please don't kill me for this, but I genuinely think Wally had the most speculation and also projection onto his character. He's the character that I think we're going to know the least about the most, if that makes sense. Like, we're going to know the least about him for a very long time, I think. And I think that obviously that is by design for the sake of the plot, but also I think it's in relation to his actual character. Him being so mysterious, I don't think is like him wanting to be mysterious, but and this is getting into theory territory, there just may not be that much about him. As we see with main characters on puppet shows like The Muppets or Sesame Street, we see like Elmo and Kermit, they have personalities, and they have very strong personalities and distinct personalities, but comparatively to everybody else on the show, every auxiliary character on the show, their characters aren't as, they're not as strong. Their personalities aren't as strong as all the other characters. And that is mostly because, and you see this in every type of show ever, the main character is supposed to be an extension of the audience. And here with Welcome Home, I think that is literal. And my only evidence for this is the videos that we see of Wally. It kind of seems like Wally is disassociating in all of these videos, and I think that is because we are seeing through Wally in this moment. Us, the audience, are seeing through Wally. We are Wally in this moment. And then when they call Wally's name, Wally snaps out of that disassociation and the video ends. And so I think that is kind of us being linked with Wally. And so this idea where you see those audios of Wally being like, oh, you can see me, right? Like, I can see you, you can see me, like, why are you still, this, that, the third, I think is this understanding that we are connected. We as the audience are like intrinsically connected with Wally. Like, we're we're like this with Wally. And maybe over time, as the show has faded to obscurity, we have lost that connection, and maybe Wally wants that connection back. I don't think Wally is doing anything out of malice, like out of like intent to harm. I think maybe whatever way he is going about trying to put himself back into the public eye, into the public sphere, is maybe not the best, the mold and the growth and like all that type of stuff. I think this overall, like the meta narrative of this story, is going to be one about remembrance and one about telling a correct story, because again, there's stuff about ableism and the LGBTQIA plus community, and the timing of like all of this coming out, and us as a society kind of forgetting about this show, like within the universe, forgetting about the show and forgetting that exists. And maybe this is Wally trying to reach out to all of us, saying, hey, like, I'm still here, this thing still exists, me and my friends are still here, and by forgetting about us, you know, that what they say in Coco, like, no one is really dead until you forget about them. Hi. No, you're here now. Okay, say hi, Silver. Okay. Ow. Some things never change. You can change the location, but you can't change the cat. Got anything to say? No? Okay. Are you sniffing my lips? Okay. Yeah, anyway, back to this idea that Wally may be the only one that knows that they're on a show. And Barnaby too at this point.
What did I tell you? He's a natural. And that was just a taste. Go on, kid.
Okay, how does Barnaby eat his hot dog?
I don't know. How?
He relishes it.
In the interview, the interviewer asked Wally, like, oh, why is that why they call you Wally Darling, just kind of as a joke? And Wally says, like, oh, they call me Wally Darling because that is my name. And obviously that is played off as a joke, but it's also just kind of like, how much agency do you have in your life, actually? You know, I feel like that's kind of where we're leaning towards, and I have so many like questions. So the last character I want to talk about here is Home. So we come across Home twice in this update. Once we get to hear Home themselves speaking what it seems like either through some type of Morse code or some type of jingle jangle of the house. I think it's Morse code because I think some people decoded it as Morse code. So if it is, and you know what it is, let me know down in the comments below. And then of course the video in which Barnaby and Wally are at home and talking to Home. In this one, Wally is painting and Barnaby seems concerned about Wally because he's not painting.
If I'm counting howdies, that's at least 4. Hey, unless he's walking around on all 4s like moi, then I don't count arms. That reminds me, he's been getting better at running. Especially for a guy that's only got 2 legs. Still scares easier than my mama, though. And she's a real chicken. Hey! I chased him down for a good reason.
With the entire idea that Home is possessing Wally, Wally is possessing Home, we'll have to wait and see. We have no idea yet if there's any possession even going on, or if it's just more of like a Home and Wally are just very, very close, and maybe Home has some type of connection to the outside world being like the real world or something like that. If you have a theory about that, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, as it relates to characters, that's pretty much it for the update. Obviously I brushed over a lot because I really want you guys to go and explore these characters. They're so amazing. The voice acting was so good. The skits were so well written. Like, I think Clown, like every single skit, I chuckled. I at least chuckled. I laughed. I blew air through my nose. Something. The jokes were funny. It was very cute. The show feels alive. And I think that is the point, literally, is that this show is alive. As we see in the secret, not so secret ending to this update, the museum curator, the poor museum curator who got dragged into all of this, is handling a lot of this merchandise, which has come from who knows where, which is like, where did all this merchandise come from? You know what I mean? But this museum curator gets dragged into all this and now is infected with whatever it is and can hear the ringing in their head. Wally has showed up to them in a dream, expecting them to answer the phone, but no one knows how to, which again is why I don't think this is malicious. I don't think it is outright malicious. I think Wally is literally crying out for help, and no one knows how to help him. No one knows how to answer the phone, which is why the WHRP, the restoration team, who I think is literally just one person based off of the notes that we see littered around. What are we doing? You know what? You know what's over there? My shoe rack. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this, babe? But I think the WHRP is just one person. I think the restoration project team is just one person. Based off of the notes that we see littered around the website, and then also how much this person talks like it's just them. Because when they say like, oh, the ringing's in my head, you can hear it too, you can feel it too. They don't speak in we's. Like there is no, oh, we feel it, we hear the ringing, or any of that type of stuff. It's always just I hear it, you're messing with me, whatever. So I think it is just one person. Who this person is, we have yet to uncover. But the poor museum curator has been dragged into all of this, and I feel so bad for them. But now we have at least two people now that are in real world people that are in the fray. If the WHRP person is a real person, there is that theory that it's Wally who is the restoration team person, but the person doesn't seem to be aware of the scribbles that are done by Wally on this website, on the guest book specifically, and calls them bugs. So I think whoever this person is separate from the actual Welcome Home show itself, somehow got infected by all of this, and now Wally is kind of using them as a conduit to kind of get out there and try to, I think, in my opinion, reach out for help. Help for what? Help for why? I have no idea. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you did, you are a real one. I absolutely love this project. Please send support to the creator, Clown. I will list their Ko-fi down below. You should go check them out. When the next update is going to be, that's a good question. I think it's going to be October. Just because I think that was the original air date of the show within the universe is October something. I think October 9th. Could be dead wrong about that. But if that is true, maybe we'll get an update by then. Yeah, let me know what your favorite character was, your favorite moment from this update, your theories, all of it. You can reach me on all of my social medias. They'll be linked down below. I started streaming again, actually. Right now my streaming schedule is all over the place, so you're just gonna have to follow me on twitch.tv/AllieDreamer in order to see when I stream. I did this whole thing on stream, so if you want to catch stuff like that, we could talk about shows, movies, whatever. You can help me with some of my videos maybe, or we could just play games. Either one, come join, it'll be fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next episode. Love and peace.